Yes. Good afternoon. This is Thirunavukkarasu from CPR Environmental Education Center. I'll be talking to you on education for the wildlife conservation, the need and importance. As you know that nature education is as old as human history. We used to say that education about the environment, education through the environment, education for the environment. Nature education. We started, nature education is as old as human history. Nature education is being called in several names and is known in several ways. In the beginning of the century, or especially after the World War, the education about natural resources was called as nature education. Then after some time, it was called as project study. And in late 60s and early 70s, the same nature education was called environmental education. After that, in 80s, it was earth education and the biosphere education. In early 70s and 80s, it is education for wildlife conservation. And in 90s, it is education for sustainable development. And nowadays, it is called as sustainability education. So whatever the name attributed to nature education, we are nothing but learning about nature for bettering our life. What is the need for the nature education or education for conservation of wildlife? We know that in early 40s, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki was bombarded, a nuclear bomb was dropped, and we had very high devastation, loss of human life, loss of property, loss of entire habitat, entire space, entire city. So after that, after the bombardment of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the world community come to understand the importance of natural resources and the deleterious and disastrous effect of the destructive forces of human being. Two aspects. One is the destructive aspect of human beings as a community. Second thing, the importance of natural resources and the environment. So after that, in 1940s, the onset, the beginning of United Nations, and the United Nations started working on conservation of natural resources, and they start calling in various names environmental education. It was christened as nature education first, then it was environmental education, then it has taken multiple shapes, and everybody wanted to talk about the need for conserving nature and natural resources. Okay, so many people died during that Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombardment, and still we have remnants of the nuclear holocaust in Japan. They're called hibakushas, crippled people. Still, they have certain anomalies, and we have the remnants of the destructive forces of human community themselves. And later in 1960s, the American biologist Rachel Carson wrote a book called Silent Spring. You might be knowing that the Silent Spring was a very monumental book that has brought in very many changes in the global community, global scientific community. She has spoken to the world community about the effect of indiscriminate use of DDT, the pesticide. DDT is a pesticide we used to see in a powder form around us. The indiscriminate use of DDT and its biomagnified effect on the ecology, on the environment, was brought out by the biologist Rachel Carson. It was a monumental work, and it brought to the world the reality of the destructive effect of pesticides, chemical pesticides, on ecology and the biosystem. So whatever it is, whatever name we attribute to the nature education, in late 60s, 1960s and the early 70s, the United Nations body UNESCO defined the nature education, then called environmental education, as recognizing values and clarifying concepts in order to develop skills and attitudes necessary to lead to action so as to improve all ecological relationships. This give you this gives you a very holistic perspective of environmental education. Nothing but the kind of relationship we want to have with natural resources is to be redefined, is to be understood, is to be learned through the process of environmental education. So we are developing the world population that is aware and is concerned about the total environment and its associated problem. We know that there are several problems in human community, including environmental problems, societal problems are there, economic problems are there, and environmental problems are also there. The need for education for conserving wildlife comes from our own society. We started having so many infectious and zoonotic diseases. It is very apt under pandemic conditions. We are having a zoonotic disease, the coronavirus infection, COVID-19, and we are under pandemic. We understand the complete ramification of a zoonotic disease, a disease-causing organism jumping from one species to another species. In this case, bat to pangolin to human species. So we have started having zoonotic diseases year after year. Now it is COVID-19. Last year it was some other disease. In future we don't know, we do not know. And the vector-borne disease is also growing. Dengue, chikungunya, and all those things there. So we are having a health emergency at present. We are going to have several health issues in future also because of that. So that is the major need of human community. Why these are all coming? What is the need of a human individual to go for a wild species for his food requirement? A person in China or Wuhan in the wet market, to the wet market he has gone, he bought a frozen pangolin and he ate it or used it. Because of that, he got corona viral infection. He started spreading from Wuhan to other parts of the world. This is the accepted theory. It might have switched species, one species to another species, bat, pangolin to human from Wuhan wet market. There are other theories are there. So the human health standards are going down. Another side, we started having so many environmental challenges. On one point of time, we have enough water, large amount of water, because of torrential rain, because of downpour, because of heavy rains in short span of time. We have floods. We receive large amount of water. And another point of time, after some time of the flood, we don't have water to use. Scarcity of water that leads to drought, water scarcity. So two extremes. One side there is much of water, and the other side there is no water. See, both the extremes are very, very dangerous for human societal living. We lose our life, we lose our properties, infrastructure, and all those things. It's also a need. We need to talk about our wildlife resources, natural resources, and the need to conserve it. The world is going hungry. Not only the entire world, even in India, we have a shortage of food, and nutritional deficiency is very much there. The Food and Agriculture Organization says that 1/3 of the food produced is wasted or lost, and 1 in 8 people around the world go to bed hungry. Without one square meal per day, they are going to bed hungry. 20,000 children under the age of 5 die daily from hunger. 870 million people are undernourished, and childhood stunting is a silent pandemic. So these are all from United Nations Environment Program. And in nature, we have pollution of resources, pollution of air, pollution of water, pollution of ocean, and all those things. We have pollution of resources happening around us. That's a need. In our streets and cities and community, the hazardous waste is building up. On the other side, on the wild side, there is a severe threat to wildlife. The forested area is being denuded, forested area is being cleared in the name of development. Precious, threatened, endangered wildlife are hunted. Even though it is illegal, hunting is going on, poaching is going on for the past 100 years, and during in the recent times, poaching is heavy in certain parts of the world. So we are killing our own animals, or killing our own wildlife, killing our own plants and animals. You know the popular example of dodo, the Mauritius uh, flightless bird gone extinct because of severe hunting and Portuguese invasion. In India, Royal Bengal tiger is in endangered condition. Our own Tamil Nadu state animal, Nilgiri Thar, again an endangered animal. So many plant species, especially the orchids. And in India, the Indian cheetah, for almost all practical reason, is extinct, and the government is trying to revive it by technology and the biological means, biotechnological means. So the animals, the plants, wildlife is under endangered conditions. So many species of animals and plants are going endangered and pushed to extinction day by day. So the biodiversity, the precious biodiversity is being lost every year, every month, every day, every week. So many orchids are lost. And pink-headed duck, the famous example for extinction of species is pink-headed duck in India, dodo at the global level, Royal Bengal tiger for endangered conditions, endangered animal species, wild animal species, and one-horned rhinoceros of endangered animal in India. It's a very rare animal. So the biologist Dr. Evo Wilson says that we are driving three species to extinction forever. The other side, these are all pushed to, animals and plants are pushed to extinction and endangered condition because of our developmental action, economic activity, pressure on natural resources. On the other side, we are wantedly doing some destruction in our oceans and in our land. For example, the shark is being hunted for its fin. Only the fin is harvested and the wounded shark is left to die in the oceans. The shark fin soup is a delicacy in China. So overfishing, overkill. So we are harvesting the fishery resources from the oceans and our freshwater sources in an extreme manner. Uh, it lead to overfishing and slowing the reproduction of fishing species, fishing resources. So probably after 50 years or 100 years, and most of our fishing lands will be empty. The fishermen will be throwing the nets, but they won't get any catch, any fish catch from their nets. So almost in 2100, most of the fishing lands around the world will go empty. The empty nets will be there. One more example, how we are pushing our precious animal and plant resources to endangered condition and inflicting pain upon them to test our drugs, medicines, and to test our cosmetics, our perfumes, scents, mascaras, foundation, lipsticks. All those things are tested on animals in the labs. So animals are being used as lab experimentation objects so that human can benefit. So even though we are not directly killing, we are testing and we're using as lab animals, lab specimens, and severe, extreme pain is being inflicted upon them. So once you are not worried about pain of others, destruction starts. In this case, animals, monkeys, lab rats are being used as lab specimens for testing our drugs and cosmetics. In extreme way, even for our fashion, we are inflicting pain upon the wildlife. For example, in Southeast Asia, the python's skin is being used as dress materials to make bags, to make purses and wallets. So what is the necessity of killing a great animal like pythons and peeling off its skin and making a dress and fashion out of it? It is a sheer example of cruelty towards our fellow beings. And in our own country, in India, in the land of Ganesha, elephants are being killed for the tusk, nothing but an outgrown canine teeth of an animal. So for the sake of harvesting the tusk, harvesting the tusk, the canine teeth of an animal, the magnificent big animal elephant is being killed. So we are uh, harvesting the tusk, ivory, and again we make artifacts out of it. Even elephant statue or elephant toy is being made out of ivory. So now we call ivory elephants. What is the use of killing an elephant and making ivory elephant? So it shows about our attitude and total disregard for the magnificent animal and wildlife. The other side, for our own pleasure, for our pleasure-seeking nature, also inflict pain upon the wildlife, especially the animals. Once you watch the dancing bear in the streets, and once you encourage a snake charmer to charm his snake, and once you watch a monkey doing gymnastic or aerobics in the street corners, you are encouraging animal cruelty or inflicting pain upon animals. This attitude extends to wildlife, and you are also killing wild animals living on the wild area, forested area. Once you are watching animals in the circuses, you are also starting the process of killing animals, inflicting pain upon animals. And that is not the end. And we also have animal cruelty in the streets of villages, small towns. We have cockfights and so many performing animals. Right. Generally, in the anthropogeny, human generated or human community generated pressure leads scarcity of resources. The pressure exerted on the natural resources lead to scarcity of resources. What does it lead to? It leads to several environmental problems in the natural resources front. One of it is climate change. We receive floods, and coral coral reef in the oceans, in the beds of oceans, are bleached, and the ice glacier in the polar region is melting. We have spreading of diseases, infectious and vector-borne diseases. Droughts are there, melting ice caps, all those things. So we also receive, it is not only the animal is getting killed, the human community itself is getting slowly killed and slowly poisoned because of the consequences of the pressure exerted on natural resources, that to wildlife. So water and food shortage, the killing of animals, denudation of forests will also lead to shortage of water, shortage of food. We also lose our precious land resources, forest, ocean, and every ecosystem is getting degraded. So clearing of native vegetation impacts water and climate cycles of the planet. It also increases the runoff, soil erosion, and drive certain species, animal and plant species, to extinction. We also expose ourselves to natural hazards. The vulnerability to natural hazards is very high. When natural resources are under pressure, we also expose ourselves to natural hazards. Whenever the drought happens, whenever the flood happens, whenever remotely, we also have tsunami. So whenever the natural hazards or natural extreme events are happening, we suffer. We are in the forefront of receiving the negative impacts of hazards, natural extreme events. We don't even call natural hazards. We call them as natural extreme events. When natural extreme events are happening, we suffer. Who is responsible for that? We ourselves. The human community itself invited the vulnerability towards natural hazards. So what does the status of environment says in India? The state of environment in India, and the latest report brought out in 2015, says that we have to talk about food security, energy security, water security, climate change, and managing urbanization. These are all the 5 major environmental challenges, environmental key issues in India. So we'll be facing so many challenges in the environmental front. To talk about the attitude, an ethical standpoint, uh, human beings used to take a perspective towards natural resources. It can be ecocentric, or it can be biocentric. It can also be anthropocentric. And most of the human community around the world are anthropocentric now, meaning that we think that human beings are the center of the whole planet Earth. All the resources are created or there for the purpose of human sustenance. That is anthropocentric. We think that human beings are there to enjoy the world, and all natural resources are for us. And the other approach is biocentric or ecocentric. So we accept the other animals and plant species as our fellow beings, and we live a life of sharing and caring. So ecocentric or biocentric, we accept human beings are part of nature, and other plants and animals are also part in it. We accept that we have to lead an unified life so that the sustenance on the planet Earth will be correct and good and in a proper way. So whenever you have anthropocentric perspective or ethical standpoint, when you are dealing with environmental resources, it leads to destruction. Thinking that human beings are the center of the planet Earth and all the resources for human beings, it will lead to destruction. We think that every animal is for eating, every animal is for enjoyment, every plant is for our own construction, every land is for our own use. That is not going to give a sustainable living space in future and at present also. So we should have an ecocentric standpoint or biocentric ethical view. We should accept other animals and plants as our co-being. So environmental perspective, when you take an environmental perspective, what kind of attitude will lead to proper sustainable livelihood in future and in present also. We should have a stewardship. We should accept that, at least we should accept that we are here to lead our life in association with other plants and animals so that we can have a happy and healthy life in this planet Earth. So we should work towards a custodianship. We should function as a custodian of other resources and ensure that the plants and animals around us are living in a healthy manner and in a sustainable fashion. So we should lead a stewardship environmental perspective. We should lead a companionship perspective uh, in the when we are dealing with natural resources. On the other side, the regulations and World Fora also says so many things. The outcome of Rio de Janeiro conference 1992 through its Agenda 21 points out that to promote integration of environment development concepts, including demography in all education. It says that in chapter 36 of UN, United Nations Conference on Environment Development, that we should integrate talking about environment, talking about environmental resources in all educational experiments in a formal and non-formal way. That is our international guiding document. It also says that we should talk about environment, we should talk about wildlife and protect it. Our own national education policy of 1986 says that there is a paramount need to create a consciousness of environment, and environmental consciousness should conform teaching in schools and colleges. So our national education policy 1986, not 2020, 1986 also says that we have to integrate environmental concerns into the school curriculum. And the environmental education system, what kind of environmental education system should be there? The Supreme Court of India in the case petition number 860 of 1991 says in 18 December 2003, it gave a direction that environmental education should be compulsory. Environmental education should be compulsory, and it should be there in educational institutions, both in schools and colleges. So what we are expecting, we should basically form environmental habits and attitudes. It should lead concerned people or citizenry concerned about the environment. And finally, it lead to environmentally responsible citizens. It also holds good for wildlife education. So once you are concerned about wildlife, it will lead to protection of wildlife, and it will lead to responsible citizenry in protecting wildlife. The world renowned environmental educationist J. Palmer says that if you're educating about nature, educating about nature, and when you are worried about the empirical element and ethical element and aesthetic element, we have to experience, do action, and very much concerned through knowledge, concept, skills, and attitude, and format influences towards natural resources in a positive manner. So it is a broad matrix whereby all the economic, societal, and environmental factors are playing role. And we have to form right attitude leading to right action leading to conservation of natural resources, including wildlife. The sustainability principles of sustainability under United Nations also says that a sustainable future will require people who think and act differently than they do today. We need people of new thinking, and it will therefore require persons with new skills, knowledge, attitudes, and values. So we need new thinking people. We need new set of skills, we need new knowledge and attitudes in protecting the resources. We have to value our resources. We have to be very caring about our natural resources. Use energy in a very justifiable manner, minimizing waste. All those prescriptions are also there under sustainable development and sustainable development principles. When you talk about India, India is a land of ahimsa. So violence and non-violence. India is a land of non-violence. The Upanishad says about it. The Bhagwan Mahavira talked about it. Lord Buddha taught about it. Emperor Ashoka spoke about it. Guru Jambeshwar spoke about it. Father of the nation and Mahatma Gandhi, as a doyen of the great symbol of non-violence, he also spoke about non-violence. And the United Nations founded based on non-violence. The United Nations, the entire institution is founded on non-violence. There should not be violence. Avoidance of violence should be the hallmark of human community. Right. So to summarize, modern man has been violent towards nature. We are in attitude, in action, in our own livelihood, in our own lifestyle, we are violent towards nature, violent towards nature and natural resources, and it should be ended. So we are today facing the consequences because of that. Yeah, so we should live a harmonious life with nature. We should save water, conserve fossil fuel, do not throw waste. We should also recycle. We should not cut trees. We should not denude forest. We should not waste water. We should not harm animals and plants. We should not disturb the wildlife. So what exactly we do? What is the kind of life we do? What is the kind of little action we can take? Adopt a pet dog, adopt a pet, a dog or a cat or something. Buy local vegetables, seasonal fruits, encourage local farmers and markets. Try to be a vegetarian, avoid junk food, reduce food miles, encourage local traditional food, follow local cuisine, stop encouraging wildlife products, make and use cloth toys, reduce fossil fuel consumption, walk and cycle. When visiting a natural resource, be a responsible and vigilant citizen or visitor. Support wildlife conservation activities that will lead to conservation of water, cleaner air, better land use, conservation of forests and organisms, conservation of precious natural resources, including wildlife. Thank you. Be in the company of legends like Mahatma Gandhi, Albert Einstein, Leo Tolstoy, Da Vinci, George Bernard. They all stress on not being cruel to animals, not being violent towards natural resources. Thank you so much. Okay,
On
exceeded
behalf
time.
of Chennai Snake Park, I thank our guest speaker for kindly having this time over and spending time with us, giving this wonderful lecture. If we have any questions from audience who are online or who are previously joined, kindly they could ask now or follow it in the chat box comments. Please.
Can I unmute and speak, or is it necessary
Please.
that I put it in the chat box?
No problem. You could go ahead. Please ask the question to your
Okay.
guest speaker.
Thank you, first of all, for such a concise and informative session. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful. I have joined from Delhi, and I'm so grateful that I could join this webinar today. And thank you. It was a lovely session, a very comprehensive. And it is a heartfelt. I'm from Delhi right now, and I stay in Delhi, and I want to discuss this pertinent issue every time there are winters and the air pollution is there beyond breathable levels. And I think it's all over the world that it's the problem with the government policies. So I really don't know, as citizens and as government all over the world, there is something that's going wrong, that we are not tackling the climate issue with sincerity. And with the kind of dedication and passion that we all need to cater to. So this is something I really feel that it should go deep down in the education system as well. Because something is going wrong across the world, that we are caught up in a very vicious cycle. Whether it's the oil spills at the oceans and the seas that's taking place, and the aquatic life takes a toll, or you must have read about the war memorial that has been made in India Gate in Delhi, and there is no statistics how many trees, full grown trees, were cut. So what I'm trying to say is that as a citizen, as a commoner, what do I do when the government and all the nations across the world are not taking things in their hands seriously? So, I mean, what do you think one should be doing about it? How do we go about it? We all need to come together, but how?
Being a citizen living in the democratic country, we need to raise our pressure on the democratic institutions. That's the only way. The positive side is we are living in a democratic country. The negative aspect of it is wrong policies, wrong attitudes, not listening to good measures. That is also there. So we need to further pressure the democratic institution. That's the only way. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about the wildlife conservation in the educational institutions and outside in the streets, everywhere. As you were rightly pointing it out, we need to raise our pressure on democratic institutions. That's the only way. So I'm being there in the environmental education field for the past 26 years. I've gone to villages, I've gone to cities, I've gone to islands and forests everywhere. I've been talking to people, thousands of teachers, thousands of children, every year around 110 training workshops and all those things. The only learning I got it is we need to raise our pressure, we need to raise our voices. Then only it can be possible to it is possible to conserve the natural resources.
Very well said.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you for everyone. Thank you.
Sir, please finish the recording before we leave the session, sir.
Recording, I should stop.
Please switch off the recording.